Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here. Today we're doing another video in the Essentials series I do, where I talk about episodes or things in Doctor Who that every Doctor Who fan needs to see. And today we're going to be talking about the 10th Doctor, played by David Tennant. Now, it's really hard to limit the 10th Doctor to only 5 stories, because the 10th Doctor is a very popular Doctor, and because his era is such a good era, with him being most of the Russell T Davies era, and him having so many strong stories. So this list is definitely going to vary from person to person. So I'm not necessarily picking his best 5. I'm not necessarily picking my favorite 5 by any means. I'm just picking 5 stories that I think are essential viewing for every Doctor Who fan. And these aren't in any particular order, by the way. Now, first on the list is Blink. And I know it's a bandwagon statement, but Blink is as popular as it is for a reason. It is a phenomenal episode. It's one of the best episodes of Doctor Who ever made. Even if it's not like a traditional episode, it's probably especially the best Doctor Light episode ever made, where an episode where the Doctor doesn't feature in it very prominently. He's only in it a bit, especially there at the end. But it's just so well written, so well directed. The guest cast do a great job. Well, I don't really care for the brother so much. Her friend's brother, the main guy in it, don't really care for him. He's okay. But Carrie does a great job as the main character, and her best friend, the actress playing her, does a really good job. And then the Weeping Angels themselves are such a fascinating idea. They've never been executed better than they are here in Blink. If they had been a one-off, they would be probably the best one-off villain ever. But just how the story builds as you slowly figure out what's going on, as it peels back layer by layer, is fascinating. Even the opening teaser before the credits is really good. The music and sound effects in this are really good. It really adds to the tension and atmosphere of the story. And then I love how it really does use the fact that Doctor is a time traveler well, with him being able to have a talk with her across time like that. Stephen Moffat understands better than almost any Doctor Who writer that the Doctor is a time traveler and that you can have a lot of fun with that. Sometimes he gets a little too clever with it, but he uses it to great effect here. It is a masterclass of storytelling, and every Doctor Who fan needs to see Blink, every one of them. The next one on the list is Silence in the Library, that 2-parter. It is really, really good. Forest of the Dead, I believe, was the other one. It's nice to see Donna get some character development here. It's nice to see it's another horror story, basically, as you once again, like layers peeling back, finding out what's going on in the story, especially in part 1. And once again, taking something mundane and making it terrifying. Doctor Who is great at that. Moffat is really good at that. Something as dangerous as a shadow that can kill you just by stepping in it. Every shadow? No. But any shadow, that is so creepy. And then, like, the people who have the 2 shadows, you know, the fear they have to be going through, wondering what's going to happen to them, if there's any way they can survive it. It gets a little silly when the shadow's running around in the suits. But it's Doctor Who. It's allowed to be a little silly. Tennant is putting on a fantastic performance. His speech at the end about, I liked her. You're in the biggest library in the universe. Look me up. And the fact that's what makes them stop. You have one day. That's awesome. Tennant does that so well. He really can be the oncoming storm when he needs to be. Whew, goofy. Catherine Tate's putting in a good performance. I think the guest cast are putting in a really good performance. Again, it has that kind of horror vibe to it, that sense of uneasiness and something being off to it that Moffat can execute so well in his horror stories. When he doesn't have the weight of Doctor Who's Sherlock and Tintin on his shoulders, he's one of the best writers the show's ever had. And this is a perfect example of it. The next one on the list is The Girl in the Fireplace, another Stephen Moffat episode. I can't help it. He's just such a good writer. I love the girl in the Fireplace. The actress playing Madame de Pompadour is great. I love the chemistry her and Tennant have. I love the chemistry Madame de Pompadour and Ten have. You know, there really is this sense that maybe they could have more than friendship. And usually, like, I tend not to like romance in Doctor Who, but sometimes it's executed really well, and it really is here. I love the clockwork robots. They're designed well. I love their disguise. I love the kind of sound they make. They're a really cool villain. I love Ten's excitement when he first sees them. He's like, "You are beautiful." Much like when he sees the werewolf in Tooth and Claw. I like the fact that they're so dangerous and deadly, but he's the Doctor. And when he sees something that just blows his mind, he's like, "Ho, ho, ho." I love that. That's very much the Doctor. Tennant nails that. It's just a fun episode. It's nice seeing how Rose has to kind of deal with this other woman a little bit too. Although I do love when her and Madame de Pompadour talk. "That's 5 years. That for you. I don't even have 5 minutes." I like that talk. I love the Madame de Pompadour theme. That piece of music Murray Gold does for her. And there's several variations of it throughout the episode, but it's some of my favorite instrumental music in all of Doctor Who. Or incidental music in all of Doctor Who. I love it. I actually have the soundtrack that has that on it. And I wish I had a soundtrack just for that episode that had all the different variations of it on it. It's a beautiful piece of music. And it's definitely one of the reasons why I like the episode as much as I do. The reveal at the end of why they were chasing her through time is pretty cool. It's interesting as it makes sense from a robot's perspective. Like as a person, we would think that's ridiculous. But a computer only knows what you tell it. So it's interesting that it would go through all this trouble to create time portals on this ship. The fact they were able to do that's a miracle. Because that's the only way the computer could figure out to fix the problem. That's fascinating to me. The same reason nobody thought to tell them, "Hey, the crew's not on the menu, barbecue." Fascinating to me. It does that really well. The biggest plot hole of them not being able to travel back to the TARDIS is a little... You know, the Doctor said, "Well, why don't we use the TARDIS to get..." Or Rose is like, "Why don't we use the TARDIS to get back?" And he's like, "We can't. We're caught up in events now." Seems... I'm not quite buying it. It seems like it does that just so the Doctor has to break through the window to think he's trapped so she can rescue him at the end by telling him the fireplace still works, yada, 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 yada. To me, that's a glaring, exhaust-port-sized plot hole. The Doctor should have just been able to hop in the TARDIS. He's done it in several other stories. Other than that problem, I think it's a really good story. An essential Doctor Who. And it's nice to see this very human side of the Doctor, which Tennant is a very human Doctor. Whether you love that or hate that, he is. And it's nice to see his emotional side here. And how upset he is when, by the time he gets back, she's passed away. Tennant acts that scene really well, and Mickey like, "You all right?" And he's like, "I'm always all right." And Rose realizing he needs to be alone, let me show you the TARDIS, that bit right there. That's really, really, really well done. Next on the list is Gridlock, another very underrated story, but I love Gridlock. It's a really good story for Martha. I love Martha. She's one of the best companions. I like the fact she doesn't take his crap. She fends well for herself on her own. When she's in a pinch in the taxi cab, she basically starts giving them orders, her kidnappers. I love how she takes charge. I like how Tennant already feels connected enough to her to go risk so much to save her. He's going because he promised he'd keep her safe, So he's running around. I love the effects. I think the special effects of the cabs and the sewers are great. I love the mention of the Macra, which for me, this was the introduction of the Macra. I don't even think I'd ever heard of the Macra Terra when this episode aired, so I didn't catch it until later. And I never actually saw Macra Terra until the animation was released, a decade later. But I do love the fact that for the 40th anniversary of Macra Terra, they kind of had this little Easter egg for the Macra in there. And it works because they're living off the gas, just like the Macra and the Macra Terra. I love the guest cast. They're hilarious. This episode works on so many levels. It's serious. It's got action. It's got drama. It's got comedy. I love the fact that's where we learned Janis Joplin gave him his coat. I love that. I love the fact that the people in the traffic jams aren't too bothered by it. They've been in it for 12 years. Me, if I'm at a drive-thru to get food and it's taking more than 5 minutes, I'm sitting there going, "What's going on in there? Why is the car in front of me not moved in 3 minutes?" I am not a patient person when it comes to a drive-through or waiting on food in general. I am not. So the fact they're just kind of chill about it. I like the two old ladies who were married, highly progressive for 2007, and I enjoyed it. They're funny. The kind of posh British guy sitting in the car. And then, of course, I liked Brannigan, who, I don't know his name, but I know the actor also played in My Hero, because I used to watch My Hero a lot. He played the main character, George. I used to watch My Hero a lot with one of my uncles, and I recognize his voice anywhere. He does a really good job as Brannigan. The makeup looks really good. And then the scenes at the end are just beautiful. The scene with the face of Bo, and the face of Bo having that talk with the doctor, I'm the last of my kind, just as you are the last of yours, and that's why we have to survive. Please don't go. That's beautiful acting, beautiful scenes. The incidental music, I love the face of Bo theme there. And then right after we get that beautiful scene, we get the scene at the end when Martha's like, I'm not going anywhere until you talk to me. And, he admits to her that Gallifrey's gone, and he starts telling her about it. The sky was burnt orange, and the leaves was silver. It's all gone now, my friends, my family, even that sky. It's such a beautiful scene. And Tennant just does that speech so well. And it's a beautiful way to end the episode. I love Gridlock. It's one of the most underrated modern Doctor Who stories, in my opinion. And Series 3 is my favorite series of Modern Who. And the last one on the list is Midnight. This one has grown on me. I used to not like Midnight. I used to call it Tennant's most overrated story. Probably because I didn't watch it for a long time, and the couple times I watched it before, the 2 or 3 times, I was a huge Tennant fanboy. He was like my number 2 Doctor, right behind Tom. Like, I loved Tennant for a long time. And so the fact that he kind of doesn't really solve the problem here. He has to get saved at the end. It always frustrated me and irked me. But now that Tennant's more in the middle of my Doctor's list, and I can look at it just as an episode. I've always also been frustrated, as I've mentioned before, that it being in Series 4 is one episode with the Doctor and Donna together, because I love the Doctor and Donna together, that we didn't get because we got this episode. I've always held that against it. But as an episode, it's fine. It is a wonderful, low-budget, bottleneck episode. I love the setting. I love the claustrophobic and atmospheric and dark nature of it. The actress playing Skye is great. Before she turns, after she gets possessed, she is phenomenal. It's nice having David Troughton in there. I think the other guest cast are doing just fine. Tennant's putting in a good performance, especially once he starts getting controlled. He does so much with his face when you can kind of see him breaking free and he's just repeating what she's saying. Tennant's doing a lot of acting with his face. He's very much like Troughton. He's good at doing a lot with his facial expressions. And you can just see him almost locked behind his eyes trying to get out. And then I love the fact that the entity that is the main antagonist here, we don't get a backstory for it. I love that. I think things are sometimes more scary and more terrifying when you don't know where they come from. I don't need an origin story for Jason. I kind of know it anyway. He drowned as a kid. Or like, say, Michael Myers. I don't need to know why Michael Myers is the way he is. Sometimes not knowing makes it creepier. And it's the same thing here. Not knowing how this entity came to be here makes it that much more terrifying, that even the Doctor doesn't have a clue where it is. It's nice to see even the Doctor sitting here going, what the heck is going on here? It's interesting. I don't want to see that a lot, but it's nice to see it every now and then. And then the bit with the knocks is really cool. Again, the camera work and it has a very atmospheric, like how Ghostlight is atmospheric. It has that atmospheric feel to it, and the lighting and the claustrophobic nature of it. Everyone should see Midnight. Every Doctor Who fan should see Midnight, even if the Doctor's not the one who saves the day here. It's just a fantastic Doctor Who story that I've come to appreciate more after my most recent viewing of it. So those are 5 essential Doctor Who stories from the 10th Doctor I think every Doctor Who fan needs to see. Yes, there are several more I would love to list. Utopia should definitely be up there because I love Utopia. So many more, School Reunion, yada, yada, yada. But I just wanted to limit it to 5. That was not easy to do, and every Doctor Who fan should see these stories. I want to know what you think of these stories and what 5 you would pick for 5 essential 10th Doctor stories every Doctor Who fan needs to see. So comment down below and let me know what you think. Other things to do, don't forget to click the like button. I am trying to reach 1,000 subscribers in 2023, and we are well on our way to that, just a few more to go. So if you've enjoyed this video and you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click that subscribe button. Click the like button as well. That certainly helps me out, and I do appreciate that. I have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that and get early access to videos. They get a new video almost every day. Some Patreon exclusives, a lot of early access videos, sometimes very early access videos. They were getting videos in early July for stuff that's not going out on the channel till early September with some reviews coming. So check that out. My entry-level tier is only $2 a month. I want to give a shout out to some of my top-tier patrons, Stephen Crane, Colin Coney, and Finn Perkins. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. It does make a difference. It is a big help, and it's very much appreciated. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you would like to send me to look at and review, Doctor Who related or otherwise. It is a sci-fi channel after all. And a link to my Amazon wish list is down there as well. Most importantly, thank you for watching.